The suburban tranquility of Oak Ridge Estates, with its manicured lawns and seemingly placid residents, was about to be shattered by a feud of epic, albeit comically petty, proportions. Marcus Williams, a software developer content with his remote work setup and quiet life, found himself an unwilling participant in a battle against the neighborhood's overzealous homeowners association, personified by the indomitable Patricia Pat Henderson. When Marcus purchased his home 3 years prior, the converted garage, now a sunlit home office, was a perfect fit. A detached carport provided ample parking. Life was good until Patricia Henderson moved in next door and, with alarming speed, ascended to the HOA board. Pat, a woman in her mid-50s with an increasingly angular blonde bob and a white Lexus SUV, sporting the eye-roll-inducing license plate, pity time, quickly established herself as the self-appointed enforcer of Oak Ridge Estate's myriad and often arbitrary rules. Their skirmishes began innocuously enough. Marcus's porch succulents were deemed unapproved vegetation. He complied. His garbage bins were visible 30 minutes too long post-collection. He adjusted. But with Pat, there was always something more. The color of his mailbox, a bird feeder attracting undesirable wildlife, delivery packages lingering on his porch. Each minor infraction was met with printed notices, text messages, and sometimes an unervingly close in-person visit from Pat, her voice dripping with artificial sweetness as she reminded Marcus, "Honey, we all have to follow the same rules. It's what keeps our property values high." Marcus, preferring peace, navigated these complaints with stoic compliance, hoping to minimize interaction. This fragile truce shattered during the carport incident. One rainy Tuesday, while Marcus was on an important client video call, an incessant car horn blared from his driveway. He found Pat, dry in her Lexus, parked under his carport, honking repeatedly. Her justification? The street near her driveway was flooded, and she didn't want to risk water damage to her Lexus, so she'd assumed he wouldn't mind her using his empty carport. When Marcus, mid-call and exasperated, refused to move his own car from the garage to accommodate her further, she accused him of being unreasonable and, as she backed out, deliberately splashed muddy water onto him. That evening, an HOA email proposed an emergency vehicle accommodations amendment, clearly targeting Marcus, requiring residents with excess parking to make it available during inclement weather. Pat was the contact. Marcus, with legal counsel from a friend, sent a firm rebuttal to the entire board. The audacity escalated dramatically the following weekend. Marcus returned from grocery shopping to find Pat's white Lexus parked inside his actual garage. The garage door was open. Pat was gone. A note taped to the interior door casually explained. Marcus had to attend an emergency board meeting. "My driveway is being resealed today, and I couldn't park on the street. Used your garage since you were out. Thanks for understanding, Pat." She had used the garage door code Marcus had once, reluctantly, given her for a supposed HOA inspection. Stunned by this blatant entitlement, Marcus changed the keypad code, disabled the interior manual override, and texted Pat about her unauthorized entry. 3 hours later, Pat demanded he open the garage. Marcus, claiming to be in a meeting, made her wait. When he finally opened the door an hour later, Pat was incandescent with rage, accusing him of holding her vehicle hostage. Marcus calmly reminded her that she had trespassed and misused a security code. After a tense standoff, where Pat reluctantly apologized by admitting she should have asked, Marcus opened the garage, but not before ensuring she deleted the old, now useless, code from her phone. Retaliation was swift. The next morning, an HOA notice declared his legally permitted home office conversion noncompliant, demanding it be restored to a garage within 30 days. This was clearly vindictive. His lawyer drafted another strongly worded letter, hinting at legal action. That evening, Marcus witnessed the unbelievable. Pat's Lexus, yet again, pulling into his garage. The door had been momentarily open as he brought in yard tools. This time, there wasn't even a note. A calm determination settled over Marcus. He closed the garage door via his app, went to the hardware store, and returned with a heavy-duty padlock and hasp, which he installed on the interior of the garage door, making it impossible to open from the outside, code or no code. 2 hours later, Pat returned. Her attempts to use the keypad, she'd apparently memorized the old code, failed. She rang his doorbell. Marcus, after a deliberate delay, answered. Pat, feigning malfunction, demanded access. Marcus coolly informed her about the new interior lock, installed for security purposes after unauthorized people, plural a subtle dig, had entered his garage. He then stated he'd be happy to open it. Tomorrow morning, around 9 a.m., Pat was apoplectic, shrieking about needing her car now. Marcus, maintaining an icy calm, pointed out her repeated trespassing and complaints, framing this as a natural consequence. When she threatened to call the police, Marcus welcomed it, citing his security footage, documented conversations, and a lawyer on retainer eager to discuss her pattern of harassment. Pat, momentarily deflated, stormed off. At 9 a.m. the next day, Pat arrived with 2 HOA board members, Howard Johnson and Diane Miller, as witnesses. Marcus, having already unlocked the interior padlock, pleasantly greeted them and opened the garage. Howard, attempting to mediate, suggested a discussion. Marcus agreed, but first laid out Pat's repeated transgressions, supported by documentation. Howard and Diane looked increasingly uncomfortable as Pat's narrative unraveled. Diane revealed Pat had lied, claiming Marcus had agreed to her parking there. Pat, flustered, retrieved her car, nearly hitting Diane in her haste. The saga wasn't over. That afternoon, Pat parked her Lexus in Marcus's driveway, completely blocking his garage access. This was pure harassment. Marcus photographed the offense and called the non-emergency police line. Officer Jenkins arrived, listened to Marcus's documented history, and advised Pat to move her vehicle immediately, warning her against further incursions and noting the incident for potential future action if she continued to harass Marcus. Pat, fuming, complied. The next day, an emergency HOA meeting was called, with parking violations on the agenda, initiated by Pat. Marcus attended with his lawyer. When Pat began her narrative about uncooperative residents, Marcus and his lawyer distributed documentation of her actions to all attendees. To Pat's dismay, other residents began sharing their own stories of Pat's selective enforcement, unprofessionalism, and retaliatory notices. What Pat intended as a rally against Marcus quickly turned into a referendum on her own conduct. The meeting concluded with a decision to review HOA governance. Patricia Henderson was subsequently removed from the board at the next official meeting. Howard Johnson, the reasonable board member, was elected as the new president, ushering in a more collaborative era. 3 weeks later, Pat listed her house for sale. On moving day, a brief, silent acknowledgement passed between her and Marcus. He never saw her again, but her PAT time, license plate, remained a vivid memory. Marcus removed the interior padlock from his garage, but kept his security cameras. The ordeal had ended not with a bang, but with the quiet departure of a neighborhood tyrant and the restoration of a more balanced, reasonable HOA, forged in the crucible of a feud over succulents, garbage bins, and a coveted parking space. Some lessons, Marcus mused, especially those taught by a difficult neighbor, are worth remembering long after the teacher is gone.